start with the next module, that is module number 6, which is medical writing in post-marketing phase. Means after the clinical research is completed, then after that, now the drug is ready to enter in the market. So what is the documentation which is done for the drug approval and drug registration purpose, and also after the drug enters in the market. So we'll discuss about this so we'll start with the medical writing in a post-marketing phase. So here the documents, they are divided into two stages, that is documents which are done, documentation which is done to apply for marketing authorization, and documentation which is done after the marketing authorization. Okay, so marketing authorization means what? Marketing authorization means that getting the approval from the regulatory authorities to market a drug. So there is a proper process which is followed for that, and for that you have to submit the NDA application, new drug application, which is submitted now in a form of a dossier, which is known as a CTD dossier. CTD stands for common technical document. Okay, so now CTD dossier, it is actually a document. It is a dossier, means it is a file which contains different documents, and they are filed together, and when various documents they are filed together, it becomes a dossier, and that dossier is submitted to the regulatory authorities. Now that CTD dossier, it consists of 5 modules. Okay, and so not all the modules are made by the medical writer, only module 2.5 and module 2.7. So module 2.5, it is related to clinical overview, and module 2.7, it is related to clinical summaries. Okay, like summaries of clinical, contains the summaries of clinical pharmacology, biopharmaceutics, clinical efficacy, and clinical safety. So all that information is given, so that these two sections are only made by the medical writers. Okay, so first, now you can access the what is the CTD module. You can read about the CTD module in through ICH website. So I will show you how. So now again you have to visit to ICH website. The web address is ich.org, and CTD dossier, it is covered under M guidelines. So what you have to do, you have to click here on the letter M. Okay, so when you click here, the multidisciplinary guidelines will open, and M4 guidelines are related to common technical document. So when you click here, so then after that you have to click on this CTD, the common technical document, and it will guide you to the CTD page. So where the CTD page is written, you have to click here on CTD page. Okay, and then it will guide you to the CTD page. Now CTD module, overall designing of this dossier, it consists of 5 modules, and that is explained through the CTD triangle. So I will show you. You can click here on the CTD triangle, and you can then zoom it. Okay, so now CTD triangle, it consists, as I said, the CTD, it consists of 5 modules. Module number 1, which is now no more considered as a part of CTD, because it contains regional administrative information, and that is not same, that keeps on changing depending upon the region from which it is, for which it is submitted. So this is the regional administrative information, and this module is generally made by the regulatory affairs team. Then after that, module number 2. So module number 2 is the largest module, which contains again 5 sections, that is quality overall summary. So quality overall summary, or QOS, it contains the information about the quality and purity of the drug product which is manufactured, details about the manufacturing processes and what are the analytical technique which will be performed. So that is the quality overall summary. So this is also made by the quality department. Then non-clinical overview and non-clinical summary. So non-clinical overview and non-clinical summary, it is the information related to the non-clinical trials which are conducted. Then comes the clinical overview and clinical summary. So this is a section which is made by the medical writer. This section is also made by the laboratory team or the management team where the study was conducted. So that is generally made by that team only. Okay, so clinical overview and clinical summary, that is submitted or that is made by the medical writer. So this only we will discuss in detail. Then Module number 3 is related to quality. So that is again made by the quality department, this section. Okay. And this section contains all the information related to the quality risk management, purity, what are the analytical techniques which are performed to check the quality of the product. So that all information is given. Then module number 4 is related to non-clinical study reports. Non-clinical study reports, so they are already prepared, okay, after the completion of the non-clinical trials. So those same reports, they are summarized here, okay. And clinical study reports, so each phase, that is of phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, the clinical reports are submitted sometimes separately, sometimes the information is combined, but generally it is submitted separately. So these reports are already made by the medical writer during after the completion of the clinical trial process. So again, no need to prepare those documents again. The same document is again filed here in the CTD dossier. Okay. So now we will discuss about the clinical overview and clinical summary in detail. Okay. Now getting back to the ICH website. Now in this also you can see that the M4 guidelines are divided into separate headings, separate sections. That is M4, which describes you that what is the organization of the, so the overall explanation of this triangle is given in M4 guidelines. M4Q is related to quality guidelines, that what how the documents are made, what are the quality guidelines. Then M4S guidelines is related to safety, which is related to non-clinical overview, non-clinical summary, and the non-clinical study reports. And M4E guidelines are related to efficacy, which is related to the clinical overview, clinical summary, and then also about the clinical study reports. Okay. So now, as we are only related to M4E efficacy guidelines. So what you can do, you can click here on M4E guidelines. Then you click on this M4E CTD on efficacy, and then you have to click here M4E R2 guideline. Okay. So when you click here, the PDF of M4E guidelines will open. Okay. And now you can see here the table of content. So first is module 2.5, which is related to clinical overview, and which consists of the following subsections. 2.5.1, which is related to product development rationale. 2.5.2, which is related to overview of biopharmaceutics. 2.5.3, which is related to overview of clinical pharmacology. Then 2.5.4, which is related to overview of efficacy. 2.5.5, which is related to overview of safety. 2.5.6, which is related to benefits and risk conclusions. And 2.5.7, which is related to literature references. So these are the subsections. Then 2.7, which is related to clinical summary. And again, this clinical summary is divided into 4 subsections. 2.7.1, which is related to summary of pharmaceutical studies and associated analytical methods. 2.7.2, which is related to summary of clinical biopharmacology studies. 2.7.3, which is related to summary of clinical efficacy. And 2.7.4, which is related to summary of clinical safety. Okay, and then after that, the literature references and synopsis of individual studies which are conducted. Okay, you can also download it from the ICH website. Okay, and whenever you have free time, you can go through this document. And in brief, I'll just tell you, like through the slides, we can understand in brief that what is given in all these documents. Okay, so let's get back to the slide. Now, documents to apply for marketing authorization. In this, first we'll discuss the first module document, that is CTD dossier, and in that we will discuss about. So now the documents which are needed during marketing, means for the marketing, for getting the marketing approval and drug registration. So first is module 2.5, which is related to clinical overview. It contains a short critical assessment of the clinical data culminating and a risk benefit assessment of the product. So generally clinical overview is not a very lengthy document. It is a very short document which is made after the clinical trials are completed. Okay, and it contains the clinical overview, means a short critical assessment related to the overall clinical data. So the data which is obtained from all the three studies. So it contains the information about the data of all the three phases of the clinical trial, and also that how the and also the details about the risk and benefit which is associated with the use of the drug. Risk means that the adverse drug reactions or adverse effects which are associated with the use of the drug, and benefit means the therapeutic benefit of the drug. Okay, so there should be a balance between the therapeutic, between the risk and benefit. So means the risk should not exceed the benefit. If in case the risk exceed the benefit, that means the drug is not safe and it needs to be withdrawn from the market. And also it should not be like this, that the risk is less but it is life threatening and benefit is more. So in that case, if the risk is life threatening, so then also the drug cannot be used on human participants. It is very risky to use. So the fair balance can be maintained, or if the benefit is always more than the risk, and risk should also not be very frequent, and it should be non-serious. In case if it is serious, then there should be a proper medical management, which can, by providing the proper medical management, the risk can be reversed. Okay, so this is how the risk benefit associated with the use of the product can be analyzed. So all that information which is collected from the clinical trials which is conducted on the product, and also the information which is available from the clinical data, that is summarized in this section known as clinical overview. Then module 2.7 is related to clinical summary, and the section of clinical summary is more detailed, and it is a big document in comparison to the clinical overview. It is again subdivided into 4 sections. That is, so module 2.7.1, which is related to summary of pharmaceutical studies and associated bioanalytical methods, which contains a summary of the formulation development process, the in vivo and in vitro dosage form performance, and the general approach and rationale used in developing the bioavailability, comparative bioavailability, bioequivalence testing, and in vitro dissolution profile database. Okay, so now this section contains the information of overall how the formulation is developed, the overall summary of the formulation development, and what is the performance of that particular dosage form in vitro and in vivo, and what is the general approach which is used for studying the bioavailability of the drug, comparative bioavailability of the drug, and bioequivalence of the drug. So do you know what is bioequivalence? Okay, so bioequivalence means that when the drug is available in 2 different dosage forms, okay, then how the drug is like what is the difference or what is the similarity between their performance and bioavailability, that is known as bioequivalence. And also to get knowledge about that how the drug is getting dissolute when the drug is taken orally, then how the drug is getting dissolute in the stomach environment. Okay, so that dissolution profile, because once the drug get dissolute, then only it will be absorbed and available for the action. So how much time is taken, and on the basis of that it is analyzed that the drug, what will be the onset of action, when will be the onset of action. Then module 2.7.2, it is related to summary of clinical pharmacology studies, which contains the summary of the clinical pharmacology studies that evaluate human pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, and in vitro studies performed with human cells, tissues, or related material, hereinafter referred to as human biomaterials, and the pertinent to pharmacokinetic processes. So in this section, in this particular section, the information about the clinical pharmacology studies, by which the studies which are done to evaluate the human pharmacokinetics, that is how the drug is getting absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted out of the body. Information about the pharmacokinetics, that is what is the mechanism of action, and what is the effect of the drug when the studies are performed with human biomaterials, like with human cells or tissues, or with the related materials. And when these in vitro studies, means in the laboratory, when the studies performed with the human biomaterials, what is the relevant pharmacokinetic processes and what is the information which is collected related to the pharmacokinetic processes, so that all information is included in this study, in this particular section. The next is module 2.7.3. First is, then in that you have to include the summary of clinical efficacy, which contains the summary of the program of control studies or other pertinent studies in the application that evaluated efficacy specific to the indications sought. So here you have to write the summary of the program of the control studies, means all the studies which are conducted to get knowledge about the efficacy and how the efficacy of a product is evaluated. Okay, and what is the efficacy of a product into a particular indication for which the study is being conducted. So that information you have to provide. The next is module 2.7.4, which is related to summary of clinical efficacy. So it is a summary of data relevant to safety in the intended patient population, integrating the result of individual case study reports as well as other relevant reports such as the integrated analysis or safety that are routinely submitted in some regions. Okay, so now this information contains, or this section contains the information about the data which is related to the clinical safety, like how safe the drug is in a particular population. And in this you can use the result of different of the individual CSR as well as from the other relevant reports. And other relevant reports means the aggregate reports which are submitted and which contains the information relevant to the drug safety, in which we submit the risk and benefit profile of the drug by which the risk and benefit assessment can be done. So those are the aggregate reports like PSUR, DSUR, PADER, which is submitted in various countries in some regions annually. Okay, and the aim is to clearly describe the safety profile of the product. So the main aim of this section is to describe that how safe the drug is, what are the adverse drug reactions which are reported, and what are the anticipated, unanticipated, and potential adverse drug reactions which are reported and which are associated with the use of the drug. So list of all the adverse reactions should be provided and all the toxicology studies which were conducted. So information about that should also be provided. Okay, so this is the information. This is the information which is shared in these particular modules of module number 2 under the CTD dossier. And this particular document is submitted to the regulatory authorities, and on the basis of the information which is shared in these which is shared in these documents. Okay, so they will grant permission, they'll go through the information, they will conduct the meetings, the individual department will review the report, and then after that it takes at least time of 6 to 10 months for the regulatory authority to review the dossier or application, and then after that only the drug will get approved for marketing. Okay, so first we'll discuss about the aggregate reports. Okay, so now the reports which are made annually, which are submitted annually to the regulatory authorities, which are PADER, PSUR. Okay, sorry, PSUR and PSUR or PBRER. It is not submitted in US. Sorry, I was wrong. It is submitted in European Union and rest of the world. PADER, it is submitted in US. It is submitted to US regulatory authority, that is US FDA. Okay, so now so these all annually submitted reports, clinical evaluation report which is submitted for the regulatory for the medical devices, that these all reports comes under the aggregate reports. And when the medical writer, they are involved in the creation and preparation of these reports, they are known as aggregate report writers. Okay, so reports that place a greater emphasis on the examination of the safety profile and benefit risk than on specific cases are called aggregate reports. A process called an aggregate report examines the cumulative safety. So generally these reports, they put a great emphasis on the examination of the overall safety profile which is associated with the risk and benefit associated with the use of the drug on a specific cases, like all the specific cases which are reported during that particular year related, and which contains the information about the adverse drug reaction which is reported. So all the data it is collected, it is a cumulative summary on the, or the cumulative summary on the safety of the drug, and on the basis of which a risk and the benefit profile can be created, and the risk and benefit associated with the use of the drug that can be analyzed by the regulatory authority, and on the basis of that information only which is shared, they can take the decision that whether this a drug should be further used or continue their use in the market, or it should be withdrawn. So that all information is submitted through the aggregate reports. Information from the variety of sources periodically and submits a conclusion to the regulators all across the world. So now the information can be collected from variety of sources, and that information is collected periodically. Generally, the period is of 1 year. Annually, these reports are submitted, and they are submitted to the regulatory authorities of that individual country, and on the basis of the information which is provided, the regulatory authorities, they will assess the risk and benefit profile which is associated with the use of the drug. The aggregate report analyzes and condenses all prior safety knowledge on the pharmaceutical product. So all the information which is available related to the safety and efficacy of the drug, that is reported in these aggregate reports. The aggregate safety reports are presented to regulators as soon as the medication is marketed anywhere in the world, and enable understanding of risk and benefit profile of the product over time. Okay, then the report includes risk benefit assessment of adverse drug reactions and serious adverse events pregnancy report. Okay, so now these aggregate reports, they are presented to the regulators as the medication is marketed anywhere in the world, but this PSUR is submitted where, or like this, not specifically the PSUR, but all the aggregate reports, they are submitted, okay, in all the regions. And with these aggregate reports only, the understanding of risk and benefit profile can be built up over a time. Like we have to see that what are the benefit of the drug is same over the time, with over the years it has not been changed, or like for example in case of antibiotics, the microorganisms, they develop resistance, and when the resistance is developed to that antibiotics, it will no longer have any effect on that microorganism, rather it will have some adverse drug reaction on human body. So for that we also have to understand that the profile, that the benefit of the drug, that is the therapeutic benefit of the drug, it should be consistent over the time. If it is not, if it is changing, then it is a point of discussion. Okay, then this report also include the benefit and risk assessment of the drug on the basis of the adverse drug reactions and serious adverse event which is reported, and also if from any case it is reported that the drug is used by any pregnant woman, and what is the effect of the drug when it is used by a pregnant woman. So that information, if it is available for any of the case, from any of the case which is reported, so that should also be included in the in this particular document. So pre-approval aggregate report converts investigational new drug report in United States and annual safety report in Europe. Periodic benefit risk evaluation report, PBRER, periodic adverse drug experience report, PADER, and periodic safety update report, PSUR, make up the post-approval aggregate reports. Now, these aggregate reports, they are divided into two phases, that is pre-approval aggregate reports and post-approval aggregate reports. So pre-approval aggregate reports are the reports which are submitted to the regulatory authorities before the marketing of the drug, that is the investigational new drug report, and which is submitted in United States, and annual safety update report, that is the DSUR, which is known as development safety update report, that is submitted in European Union. Then the post-approval aggregate reports, these are the reports which are submitted annually to the drug regulatory authorities once the drug gets approval for marketing, and these are the periodic benefit risk evaluation report, which is PBRER, periodic adverse drug experience report, that is PADER, and periodic safety update report, that is PSUR, which is the post-approval aggregate report. Okay, so by compiling a report and submitting it to several regulatory agencies, one can assess the safety of a pharmaceutical product. Okay, so now once all these reports are compiled and they are submitted to the regulatory authorities, so by submission of these reports, the regulatory authorities can assess that how safe the pharmaceutical product is. The main objective of the overall study is to periodically assess the safety experience with pharmaceutical around the world. So the same thing that annually, that how the safety experience, it is the main objective, that is to study that how the safety experience of the product is changes annually all over the world about that pharmaceutical or related to that pharmaceutical product. So types of reports are development safety update report, that is DSUR, periodic safety adverse drug experience report, that is PADER, which is submitted in US, periodic safety update report, that is PSUR. So PSUR and DSUR, they are submitted in European Union and rest of the world, and PBRER, that is periodic benefit risk evaluation report. This is the advanced version of PSUR, which is submitted in European Union, and or which is not, if not in European Union, that in other countries and in other developed countries. So this is the different types of reports or aggregate reports which are made. On all the reports, more or less, they contains the same information only. So pre-marketing report are the clinical safety study reports which are submitted after the completion of the clinical trial process, and IND annual reports in USA, then annual safety update reports and DUSUR in European Union, then post-marketing report, that is PSUR and PADER, which is submitted in and PBRER and other NDA and ANDA annual reports. So these are the different reports which are created and they are submitted to the regulatory authorities so that the regulatory authorities can assess the benefit and risk which is associated with the use of the drug product. Okay.